Hey everybody, and welcome back to Beercon 2, Rise of the Rookies. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Will Thomas, a security researcher extraordinaire for Syjax, who has really impressed me with his skills, his amazing presentation, and also just a great contribution to the community. So without further ado, Will, please take the stage and do your thing.
Thank you very much and welcome to my talk. I'm going to be talking about phishing and the state of phishing, how it works and where it comes from. So who am I? I am a security researcher for Syjax. We work in cyber threat intelligence and I sort of specialize in OSINT and malware analysis. And you can reach me on Twitter at @BushidaToken, my own blog. I'm moderator on the Many Hats Club, and I take part in the CTI League. So I thought I'd just start with, the classic phishing email that I received yesterday evening. Everyone knows what a phishing email looks like, but I thought I would just share, just to, familiarize everyone with what the most common types of attacks that people are receiving. As you can see, it's sent from service@PayPal. And it has like 2 steps until it takes your credentials. Each page has got a certificate and there's no warning signs on iPhone, like there's no Google safe browsing to block it. So as you can imagine, lots of people fall for this. I've received this one probably about 5 times. So the state of phishing that we're seeing at the moment includes multiple areas that I'm going to cover in this talk. I'm going to talk about leveraging the cloud, mass credential harvesting, capturing 2FA, and all the other types of areas and that encompasses phishing at the moment. So leveraging the cloud, threat actors are more often now leveraging services such as Google Docs, Google Forms, Canva, Typeform, to support credential harvesting and to support the delivery of malware. As you can see there, Google Forms harvesting AT&T credentials. Canva, it sort of hosts a document that contains a malicious URL, support delivery. And then you've got Firefox Send, which was probably the worst offender here, which actually shut down because it was being abused by malware so much. I think it was being abused by the REvil ransomware group and Fin7 Carbonite group. It was just so useful for them because it had like a burn URL, and once one person had opened it, it would delete itself, and it was encrypted, and all of these would just bypass secure email gateways, and it's just really useful and very simple to set up, quick to set up, and you can do it completely anonymously. So you can see how this could be a big issue. So some of you may have noticed on Twitter that we had a bit of an issue with a certain host after I found 1,500 credentials on an open website, which included so many different types of organizations, and I sent this URL to the host, and they came back with an email, as you can see in the bottom left, that said, "We are unable to validate your claims." I see this is the type of thing, these are the types of problems we face with mass credential harvesting. Even when we do locate the entire campaign, it's still difficult to take down, and after a bit of back and forth, they eventually blocked us. So this was the actual phishing email and campaign that was actually I was mentioning in that tweet and in that takedown. The attackers used SendGrid, which is an email marketing service, which with a free account you can actually send up to like 30,000 emails, even with just a free trial. This is the actual email we received. It's just like you have a voice message, play voice message button there. Once you click that, it takes you to fake Microsoft Office 365 login page. And these were created on DigitalOcean, and I realized there was actually multiple of these pages. As you can see there, erased voice, checking voice note, voice note. It's like that was the theme of the campaign. So when I followed the actual chain, the phishing chain to get to the landing page, I then reversed engineered the page to find the actual the exfiltration domain. It's just a domain in the code that was obfuscated with JavaScript and things and hex and things like that. Once I deobfuscated that, I found the exfiltration domain, and when I visited the domain, looked through the directories on there, I found 1,500 credentials there, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. And when I was scrolling through those credentials that were publicly accessible, anyone with the URL could have visited it and just stolen all of them. It included UK law enforcement email addresses from the National Health Service, government employees from the UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the US. So all of Five Eyes there. And it included employees from telecoms, energy services, professional services, aviation, and each entry included the email address, the password, the IP address, and the geolocation. And to verify whether these were actually legit, you could actually put the IP address in something like IP info showdown. You can see it was in the country that the organization was in. So there's a high chance these are actually legit, and it had managed to steal all these credentials, which was kind of shocking to us. And it took over a week to about 10 days, I think, to take down whilst this campaign was ongoing. One of the other biggest parts of phishing that we are seeing continuously now is that UK finance is being targeted by these credential harvesting campaigns as well. And most people consider two-factor authentication like the best part of the best way to mitigate from a phishing attack. It is good. It is very good. I'm not going to knock it, but there are many techniques to try and bypass this, and such as this live phishing kits, which can be deployed on multiple pages, and the pages all connect to one gateway, and that gateway is operated by a control panel with a web GUI. So if someone visits this page, they enter their credentials, and then the threat actor on the other end gets a notification saying a visitor has visited the site, they're entering their credentials. You can take that and log in, provide the user with the prompt to enter their 2FA token. Once they enter it, that gets stolen as well. And then even if there's only 30 seconds to log in, the attacker has that as well, and then they get in. So the other part of phishing that we see often is the use of free malware hosting. So instead of actually having to create a domain or create a website and host your payloads in there, even though it's not very difficult, attackers like to use sort of like cloud and content delivery networks such as Discord to host their payloads. So this is one email we received from DHL using the service@DHL email address, obviously spoofed. They sort of issue a notice there saying, oh, you've got a parcel on the way. And then they take a picture of an actual invoice probably from Google or something like that. And I think it's intentionally blurred out. So you go to click on it to sort of zoom in to try and make out what the actual information is there. That image actually has an embedded URL, which points to a executable file hosted on Discord. Because the Discord CDN is actually public, it just immediately will download to a device. And this was actually a self-extracting archive. So once you clicked it, it immediately self-extracts and injected into a legitimate process. The next one we see all the time recently is the Bizarre Loader. This is one of the most dangerous malware at the moment, belonging to the Riot ransomware gang. And the reason it is so dangerous is because it abuses multiple legitimate services, including Google Docs, AWS buckets, and SendGrid as well. So the user will receive a phishing email from SendGrid, and in the SendGrid email will be a URL to Google Docs, which is, it's a trusted service, and it will just allow you to visit it without any flagging any problems. In the Google Docs, there's a screenshot there in the middle. It will say if the download does not start, click here. Once you click that, it contains the payload as well there, the review report exe file, which contains the bazaar loader. That is hosted in the AWS bucket for Basecamp. So Basecamp is a legitimate document hosting service, but you can also upload files to it to the open AWS bucket. So that comes from a legitimate service and is just able to bypass a lot of detection systems. You've also got Trello there as being abused, but there's other services. I think Slack is being abused as well as Discord. Evasion. So the types of evasion that threat actors like to use comes in many forms. You've got open redirect URLs. This is something I find all the time, where say if I'm reversing a phishing kit, sometimes they've just got instructions in a TXT file with how to actually distribute your links. So in here, there's a national trust link there that was sent in a phishing email. Your protection systems will detect that it's from the national trust legitimate service, and it will be deemed as safe. But if someone actually clicks that link, it takes you straight to the credential harvesting page. You can see how that's a problem. And then you've got Malware Trace Korea identified a smishing campaign, SMS phishing campaign going on in Korea at the moment, where the message you will get will be like, oh, you have a parcel on the way, download this parcel tracking app. And it will have your phone number as the name of the file name. So it's actually destined to the owner of the device. And if you find the actual phishing page, you won't be able to download, you won't be able to basically investigate it without having a phone number on the database that the attackers are using. So this is another method of evasion that's happening in Korea at the moment, but eventually it's gonna make its way over to Europe and the US and other places. And then you've also got captures. These are becoming very, very popular on phishing pages as well. That basically prevents automated tools from detecting them as malicious, as well as preventing someone filling up the data with spam text, or pretty much, because you have to enter a captcha each time. And then you've also got negligent hosts and bulletproof hosts that prolong phishing campaigns. These services we deal with all the time. We submit takedown requests, and it often can take over a week to 2 weeks to actually take them down, because they don't really care about it. They don't care about it enough to prioritize it, and they continually let them to recreate the same pages pretty much with just a dash in the middle, and give it a certificate as well from Let's Encrypt or Sectigo. It's very easy to get a certificate for one of these services, convince them that you're legitimate, and assign a certificate. And the green padlock is actually seen by many average users that's a sign of legitimacy, a sign of safety. So it's a problem. So all these techniques, tactics, techniques, and procedures that I've mentioned are being leveraged by organized cybercrime groups that are monetizing these attacks and these mass campaigns, and they are used to generate millions from stolen credentials, payment details, and all sorts. So one of the current things that we are monitoring is these phishing as a service offerings. 16 Shop is one of the biggest for creating phishing kits and distributing them. And these are used to harvest Amazon, PayPal, Netflix credentials that are then again sold on underground forums and Telegram groups, pretty much on .NET, as well as the kits themselves offering those for sale. and it's all self-explanatory. There's tutorials offered in the actual service, and support as well. So if you're having if the threat actor is struggling to set it up, they can contact the developers and be like, hey, can I have some help setting up this phishing kit? And they'll happily tell you exactly what to do to get you started. And if you go on YouTube, you can literally type in scam page and then the name of a brand, and it will probably be a tutorial on how to set up a phishing page. This stuff is very easy to find. These are just some other examples of what we're seeing at the moment. In the bottom right there, you've got you're actually a little bit more sophisticated phishing as a service equipment like cybercrime tools there. Silent PDF exploit, macro builder, data protector, pretty basic stuff, but it just, it's a service offered to other cyber criminals. Business email compromise. So this is probably one of the greatest, probably one of the most costly attacks that we are currently seeing, is where I think most people know what this is, where a threat actor will convince an employee to transfer funds to the wrong account via phishing. So Ray Hushpuppi, a Dubai-based Nigerian BEC scammer, he was one of the most notorious. He was arrested by Dubai police in June 2020 in a case called Operation Fox Hunt 2. He actually had, I think he had over 1.8 million followers on Instagram, and he was flaunting his wealth there. So he's driving a Bugatti Veyron and in his private jet. He was hiding in plain sight pretty much, and he was stealing. He was found responsible by the FBI and the Dubai police for stealing millions of dollars via BEC attacks against large organizations such as a US law firm, foreign bank, English Premier League football club even. So just by basically using a typo squatting domain, emailing the right person and convincing them that they're going to change the bank account address to this one, and then eventually the money gets transferred, and then they have this vast money laundering network to make it disappear. So these BEC scammers, because they're actually pulling in so much money doing this, they're actually cooperating with really advanced cybercrime organizations such as Fin7, which is also known as Carbonac, as a Russian gang that was actually responsible for hacking the Bank of Valletta in Malta, stealing 13 million euros in that. And it was actually found that in the indictment, the money stolen from that bank was actually laundered via Hushpuppi's money laundering network. So as you can see, just from phishing attacks, you've got millions of dollars and euros being laundered in this way. So the Emotet spam botnet, if I was going to do a talk on phishing, I can't miss out Emotet. It's the greatest. It's probably by far the greatest threat that we are seeing on the threat landscape in terms of phishing campaigns. It's basically the largest malware distribution network in history, and it's responsible for delivering hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of emails per month. And I think Hornet Security uncovered that from this, it actually leads to 25,000 downloads per hour, all that establish a foothold in an organization. So Emotet arrived, I think it arrived in about 2014 or 2015 as a banking Trojan. It has since evolved. It's not really a banking Trojan anymore. It's a downloader Trojan, and it's an info stealer as well. It will compromise the user's inbox, mail client, and it will just exfiltrate all the contact list and the contents of the inbox there. And it will, one of the things that makes it so effective is that it doesn't just arrive as a random email in your inbox. It actually, if someone on your contact list who you regularly talk to is compromised, Emotet will actually go through your emails and reply to a previous conversation with a download URL or a malicious document attached. So you think, and because the client is compromised, you think it's actually coming from the person on your contact list. So it's as you can see, it's so effective in that way, especially when an entire organization can get like up to 20, say up to 20 people's inboxes can all get compromised, and it can just spread. It can just spread really, really far that way. And the other part of Emotet, because it has such a vast malware distribution network, it enables other types of cybercrime, such as ransomware campaigns and the TrickBot banking Trojan. These Emotet basically drops the TrickBot banking Trojan onto the infected systems, and then from there, TrickBot is one of the most advanced malware, so it has about 30 modules, and from there they can pick and choose what they want to do on that compromised network, and then they can choose whether they want to steal credentials from the infected devices, move around laterally, and then they can deliver the ransomware, which they usually do, which they have been doing in these really aggressive ransomware campaigns. I think this weekend it has been one of the largest number of attacks on US and Canadian hospitals since WannaCry. If you look into it, you can see I don't know the precise number of how many hospitals have been hit, but the numbers are increasing, and the US authorities are issuing joint advisories. It's a really serious problem, and it all starts with Emotet, really. So some mitigation for some of the phishing that we're seeing includes multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication. Although there are methods to bypass them, it doesn't make them they are still invaluable, because even if your credentials get breached in a data breach online, then even if they try to log into your account, because they've got tools that can log into thousands of accounts per second, even if they try to, you can block it because they don't have access to your actual phone and your phone number. And then you've got a block list of malicious domains. So I work for a cyber threat intelligence company. We provide IOC feeds from the latest phishing campaigns to make sure you're actually protected and don't receive any of these phishing emails, so they don't even get a chance to target you. And then takedown requests as well. You want to issue takedown requests to bring them down, to stop these campaigns, as well as anti-malware and anti-malware best practices. You want to keep your software up to date, and you want to ensure logging and isolate infected systems. If a system is infected with Emotet, you want to stop that, or TrickBot, you want to stop that from being able to spread around your network as soon as possible. As well as password security, you want to ensure your password is strong, make sure no one can brute force it. That just goes without saying by now. As well as simulation and red teams. You don't have to go for the full red team package, but sometimes it might be worth doing a simulated phishing test across your entire organization once a year, just to identify any weaknesses. I think awareness training is also very important for an organization. Phishing emails can arrive every single day, so it's important that when onboarding new staff, they have to go through security training and make sure they actually understand what a phishing email is and how it can target you in many different ways. And one of the most successful ways of preventing phishing attacks is if you want to simplify the method of reporting. So you want to simplify, if someone receives a phishing email, you want to make it simple for them to contact the IT team and let them know they're not sure whether it is legit or fake. That is one of the simplest way to stop these campaigns and catch them early on. Email forwarding rules is also one of the fastest ways to detect if you've actually already been breached in a phishing attack. Is once they've logged into the email client, they usually set up a email forwarding rule that once the system has been once the email client has been compromised, they will then, any email that they get with a keyword will actually be forwarded to the attacker's exfiltration address, pretty much. So you want to check for those. Other simple methods is, have I been pwned? I think everyone knows about that. You can check whether your email address has actually appeared in a breach, and you can also set up a notification. So any new breaches that turn up, you can get notified if your email address is in there. If that breach contains like the contents of your password, you might want to change that. And then have I been Emotet? This is actually a really new service. I think only released maybe a month or two ago. You can actually check if your email address is actually present in the Emotet spam list. And that could be really interesting, because you can then identify whether your partners have been compromised, or and once it's on that spam list, it's there forever, and it will just get passed around to other organized cybercrime groups, really. So you want to think about that. My prediction, so what I predict will happen in the future of phishing, is that I think smishing will grow as a popular method for attacks. Traditional phishing, I don't think it will actually ever disappear, but it will only like smishing will only ever catch up with it, and maybe one day eventually overtake it. As people move away from email and starting to use collaborative applications such as Microsoft Teams and Slack, anything that usually could be done over an email is now just sent through a collaborative app. You just ping someone that way, and it's much faster than an email. And then any sensitive conversations that you may be having over email might be worth thinking whether they could actually be done over Zoom or WebEx or something like that. And as I mentioned earlier, with the database of phone numbers, those TTPs, those tactics, techniques, and procedures will always be upgraded, continually upgraded, and deployed in new geography. So it's actually important as a cyber threat intelligence company to monitor what's going on in different countries, because then you can alert your clients whether it's going to actually arrive to you before it does. And then I also expect that there'll be increased losses. In 2019, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reported 23,775 complaints. So, that equaled 1.7 billion in losses. I reckon this year it will probably be much higher, if all in all. So I'll wait for that one to come out. And that is my talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep an eye out for those phishing emails.
Well, that was brilliant.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that stuff. I do have sort of one question that I want to kind of like ask you around. We've seen and heard about a lot of sort of non-traditional places of storing either payloads or things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those discoveries that you've made?
Yeah, so for malicious services, no, for legitimate services being used in legitimate ways, we see those all the time. I saw, we recently got I think it was a fake message from your CEO, in air quotes, which actually it's a URL in there which takes you to Basecamp, which is, as I said before, it's a legitimate service, and then from there that just takes you to their landing page. So these services, although they might not actually be not always holding the payloads inside them, they are also often used as like stepping stones that are abused by threat actors, and that's all. They're also very difficult to get removed, because there's not always, I think maybe Google and Microsoft, they're like some of the slowest at takedowns, and it's painstakingly hard to get them to actually remove something, just because they must just get millions of these takedown requests every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, man.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.